folks, and welcome to The Game Buzz, the weekly podcast from us here at dealspoint.com, where we dive ass first into the week's news. I'm Matt Gardner. I'm joined, as always, by Carl Phillips.
Hello.
And by Jonathan Lester.
Hello.
Hello. And we didn't really have one last week because we figured if we did a podcast on Friday last week, it would just kind of get overtaken by all of the PSX and Game Awards stuff. So let's talk about some of that now. Obviously, like we talked about Microsoft having momentum going into Christmas. Sony kind of tried to derail that by throwing themselves a massive party, and it kind of worked. There were some big sort of videos, a couple of rather large announcements, and I want to put it to you guys. Obviously, this got leaked beforehand. What do you guys make of this Street Fighter exclusivity?
Well, I think first of all, I think our listeners should know that that's kind of the reason we didn't do a podcast, is because we ran that leak trailer and Capcom tried to shut us down, and there was a whole thing, and there were ninjas, and
there were Capcom
ninjas. So for the sake of full disclosure, I mean, we would have liked to do that, but we were, Capcom sent the heavies round. But yeah, I think it's a canny move, actually. I think it's a good move. I think that Street Fighter's one of the sort of few fighting game franchises that does really have a big audience. It'll mean that the PS4 becomes a sort of mainstay of the competitive fighting scene for tournaments, and for pretty much all big gaming events. There's always a Street Fighter tournament.
Yeah. There
will be a PS4 there. And the series has sold millions over its various iterations. Even just Street Fighter 4, or even Street Fighter 4, the super ultra mega on disc DLC screw you edition. There's always, they've sold millions. There's always an audience there, and it's a good idea. I mean, I'll probably get it on PC, but yeah, it's a good move.
I think, in terms of, because people were obviously saying, Street Fighter, a few people were saying, is that as big a deal as, say, like the Tomb Raider announcement back at Gamescom, which we now learn is being published by Microsoft. And it's not necessarily as glitzy a name as Tomb Raider, which obviously was riding the high following the reboot and everything like that. But I agree with you. I think it's got a guaranteed audience because it's such a long-standing name, and although the fighting genre could be considered to be a relatively large niche genre, you're right. Sony's going to be there all the tournaments. You're only going to be playing it on PS4 on console, and as much as I'm a fan of PC gaming, I don't consider PCs to really be the platform for fighting games.
Well, they increasingly are, especially since MAME exists. But
there is that.
They are the premier platform. Fighting games, that and sort of if you've got a PCB around or a Dreamcast, but I think that this was it's not the most glamorous move, as you've said. It's not the most glitzy move, but it's really put Microsoft's backs up. It's really sort of socked us out of nowhere, and it's got people talking about PlayStation again, which is awesome.
Phil Spencer came out, he tweeted out, because obviously people were messaging him about this, and vowed to kind of avenge this. So my next question is, what do Microsoft buy next? Because this is an opportunity to kick off this kind of mid-tier, I guess, bidding war in terms of third parties. This is something that we could really see both sides go for it. Microsoft need to maintain momentum. Sony, all they have right now is PlayStation. They're investing heavily. It's time to flash the cash. What's going to get bought next?
Oh, what's the point? They've missed so many opportunities to buy all the good stuff, and they didn't bother. They could have bought BioWare when they were developing Xbox exclusive games. Nope. They could have probably bought Sega when they were developing all their first-party stuff as original Xbox exclusives. Nope. Could have bought Crytek. Nope. Hell, there was a stage where they probably could have bought EA, and they didn't bother doing that back when they were affordable. What's the point? What's left to buy now?
Well, IP-wise, I mean, it's probably a good move they didn't buy Crytek, who went into bankruptcy. Sega, it would just mean Sonic Boom on Xbox One. I'm not sure no one wants that. But yeah, they really should have just made Mass Effect a freaking Xbox exclusive when they had the chance. I'm not sure what they buy next. I'm not sure what's up for grabs. Because Tomb Raider, well, they kind of needed an answer to Uncharted, and that's going to be a very interesting. Man, winter 2015 is going to be interesting. But if Sony now have Street Fighter, did they go out? Did Microsoft go out and buy NetherRealm?
That'd be good. That'd be good. I'd be up for that. I mean, they could buy. Yeah, I mean, what else?
It's Mortal
could
Kombat.
They could try and get the. Yeah, I mean, they could try and get the Skullgirls guys, but they need something to. They need something as big as Street Fighter. And I don't know. I guess that just leaves Soul Calibur, and I'm pretty sure there's not much chance of them making their game an Xbox exclusive. But stranger things have happened.
Indeed, that would be
impossible. Weird. But yeah, it's a good move. I think it's very naive to think that Street Fighter won't come to Xbox platforms eventually. I would assume that the Street Fighter V Ultra Edition or Super Edition or something like that will end up making its way to Xbox One at some point. Just like Rise of the Tomb Raider will end up on PS4 at some point. But, until then, I guess there's Killer Instinct.
Have you played much of that?
Yeah, fair bit. It's good actually. Now they've actually added all the content in.
Another thing, Another thing that came out of PSX was quite possibly one of the best trolls I've seen. One of the best corporate trolls I've seen in a while. And it shouldn't really have been news, but Final Fantasy VII, the PC port, is coming to PS4. And for some reason, Square and Sony thought this deserved its own bit on stage towards the end of this presentation, and the internet went a little bit bonkers. Now, I can understand that to a certain degree. Is it worth Square doing a proper full-on HD remaster of Final Fantasy VII? Do we think that's something they'll ever do? Is it something that you guys want?
I think it's something that we all want, but I don't think it's viable. I mean, yeah, it would print money, but it would also require a ridiculous amount of time and effort to create in the first place. Because not only have you got to sort of just graphically improve such an enormous game, but you've also got to think how sort of basic low poly stuff translates into full HD, as in you've got to think of what is every material actually made of? What does each character's facial detail actually look like? And what does that entire infiltrating the sort of brothel scene? How does that translate into HD? I mean, there's some fun stuff in there. So, yeah, I don't think it's viable. And to be honest, this just kind of really annoyed me. This whole announcement, it's a port of Final Fantasy VII. I already own Final Fantasy VII. I already own a port of Final Fantasy VII. Hell, I own the PC. I own it on PC and on my Vita. This isn't news. The fact that there are still hardly any PS1 games on PS4, I mean, that's still news. But
yeah, and I wonder what this means for kind of those PS classics that, like you, I've been enjoying on my PS3 and my PS Vita. This is a little bit maybe of a worrying sign for sort of classics on PS1, because you would have assumed maybe they just opened that up on PS4.
Nah, man, rental on PS
seen
Now.
That.
Oh yeah, PS Now, boy.
Yeah, that's probably what it's going to be. And I mean, I kind of just want the option. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is still a great game. It doesn't need an HD remaster to kind of be a great game again. It holds up surprisingly well. Not graphically, but gameplay wise, it's still amazing to play. And I think, I don't know, maybe updating it in terms of full on really awesome high res 3D graphics, and you'd have to create a completely new engine for it. It would take, as you say, just so much time and effort. And it would then be judged by modern standards. And I'm not sure, I think it would do quite well, but it could spoil it completely as well. What do you think, Carl? You're one of our resident Final Fantasy experts.
So sorry, I had to. I just don't care. I think that at the end of the day, that For people who didn't get the upgrade, well, the versions of it on PS3 or Vita, it's for them pretty much. But the way that Square Enix went about it was kind of dickish, and that's about it. We've pretty much covered our views on it, so yeah, I won't be getting it.
I think I just want. I like having the ability to play Final Fantasy VII on pretty much any platform that I have going.
Apart from PS4.
But it's like they've announced the price point, or rather, I think Polygon found the price point for it. They were saying it was going to be like something like $16, which is a few dollars more than it currently is, and that would annoy me. That would really annoy me.
Seeing as the PC version costs £10,
See, what I think people should do,
and it is the PC version.
What people should do is, if they really want it, go get a cheap PS3, get a whole bunch of the back catalogue games, and then just get it off that store. You'll still be able to play it. It'll probably end up being cheaper. Do that. Unless you really are that bothered about having trophies, which everyone seems to be like clamoring. Oh yeah, it's good trophies. Just play the game.
Or invest in what is quite possibly hands down just the best handheld JRPG box ever. Like the Vita is amazing for legacy Final Fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
But for JRPGs up the bum, it's just yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's actually a better shout because it plays a bit well. The fact that you can just like put your Vita on standby and then just go back, you don't have to worry about. Well, you should save. Always save. You will always be better if you don't. But it's the fact that you can just put it down, like do 5 minutes of like killing stuff, put it down, go do some stuff, come back, do 5 minutes. It's really easy, and then you level up. You'll be like top level before you know it.
It's like they've announced, or rather, it emerged after it was sort of leaked on, I think it was a French retail store, or rather, Square's French retail store, a listing for Final Fantasy X and X2 HD remaster. That's coming to PS4 as well. Is this going to happen every single time a new console's released now?
Yeah.
Until they come up with a game that's better or whatever, because they've been saying this about Final Fantasy VII. They won't do it unless they come up with a game that betters Final Fantasy VII. So basically, I think that they are just going to be re-releasing the old games as they were until they come up with a game that it gets as much critical acclaim as Final Fantasy VII, which they won't because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy 15, guys, don't count them out so soon.
Actually, yeah, to be fair, that does look like a really good driving simulator.
Yeah, it looks good. I think it seems to be basically a lot like The Crew. I think is sort of the vibe I'm getting from it. It's like super gritty, and also there are cars in it.
And it has giant turtles in both, I'm assuming.
Yeah, oh, so it's better than The Crew.
There we go.
The Crew will have better hair than the actual Crew.
That's very true.
Here's the thing, even though it's Square Enix, it'll have a better story than The Crew. Final Fantasy VIII has a better story than The Crew.
Oh, that's damning. That is damning.
Psyched. You've been so psyched for The Crew. Like, all the way through.
I've been defending it. I've been the only one.
All the way through, when driving games were dropping like flies, and we were going, "Oh man, it turned from a really good year for driving fans into a really shit year." You were there going, "Yeah, but The Crew, guys, The Crew."
It's man,
The Crew's not for you.
Not really. The Crew's not really for anyone. It's for like. The thing is, it's got like. It's built on such an amazing foundation. I've never seen such an amazing game world in practically any game before. It's like 5,000 square kilometers of actual America. It's amazing. Like all the big cities are there. Like you can like drive in the Grand Canyon. You can like drive your cars up the Rocky Mountains and fling it off a ski run if you want.
That sounds amazing. So The Crew's amazing.
It is. No, it is. As a technical achievement, it's amazing. But then Ubisoft were like, hey, why don't we like not just stop with this great idea that we've got and polish it and make it amazing? Why don't we just keep adding random pointless shit until the whole game basically collapses in on itself? They were like,
familiar.
Is it much like a face in Assassin's Creed Unity?
It's almost exactly like a face.
Collapsing like a face.
It's almost exactly like that. They were like, hey, everyone loved those microtransactions in Assassin's Creed Unity. I mean, no one was pissed about those at all. So let's stick them in The Crew. because that's what you want. Let's make sure that people have to stay in their starting car for like 12 hours because they can't afford anything else.
Oh,
Good idea.
man.
Good idea. Because remember, guys, microtransactions kill economies if you put them into your game.
Yeah, so I think we've said before, like it seems like this was a business decision that was made over a year ago, and they haven't been able to really sort of like divert the course. And so, yeah, now we're seeing all the stupidity come to the top.
Yeah, and I especially like the fact that it seems like every Ubisoft developer is contractually obliged to add a crap revenge storyline to their games.
Yeah.
It's like The Crew is a driving game MMO. It's not an MMO, actually. No, sorry, I apologise for saying that. It's not an MMO. It's multiplayer free roam with instanced events, i.e., what Forza Horizon 2 does that also lets you play offline.
It's better.
And is like infinitely better. But they thought, yeah, it's a driving game MMO. So what that really needs, though, is we need to make every player in the game the same character, and we need to shoehorn in loads of extra characters. And rather than the focus on being on like going out and exploring and racing and having fun, the story is about how evil and terrible and seedy and corrupt everything is, and how awful that is, and why there's no point doing anything, and everything's fine, everything's terrible.
So it's kind of like the Shield, then, pretty much.
What's going on?
So it's me moving paper. Sorry. Yeah. No.
That's
So
not the loudest thing ever. You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm okay. But yeah,
Go.
but yeah, no, it's basic. It's basic. What you're describing to me is the Shield. So you're saying it's as good as the Shield.
No, the Shield. I like the Shield.
The Shield.
The Shield is all right.
As in
This
Michael
is
Chiklis.
The Crew. Yeah,
Oh,
I
man,
like,
they should have got him for the main character instead of a bloody hipster in stupid glasses. Is what
You're
they
saying they should have gotten the thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Chiklis is amazing.
but here's the thing. But here's the thing. It reads like a really bad parody of the Shield. Like an amateurish, like really crappy parody of the Shield, like maybe even written and translated from a foreign language. But it plays it straight. It plays it straight. There is a hacker whose name is Roxor with 2 zeros, who tells you. I mean, we can't really talk saying I write for a site called Deals Pwn, but like a hacker called Roxor, who tells you that she's. Hang on, I'm scraping the dark net. It's like, plays it straight. No irony. Like, the main bad guy, his name is Shiv. I can't even...
Next, you're going to tell me that that's actually his christened name.
Yeah, no, it basically is. He's always just referred to as Shiv. That's his name is Shiv. Shiv Shiverson.
Like share.
And
it's just one word.
It's like they looked at Burnout Paradise and thought, you know what might make this better? The shittest storyline ever that also restricts your progress and stops you from going to other places on the map because there's nothing to do when you get there. And do you know what? Let's talk about something else, because The Crew is just there's only one thing worse than playing a game that could have been great, and that's playing a game that would have been great if only its developers had just fucking stopped and just known when to draw the line, and hadn't shoved it full of microtransactions and basically been Ubisoft.
I think that's the thing. The most galling thing, though, is like, okay, we look at Ubisoft's games throughout the year, like Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed Unity, The Crew, and they've all got this kind of corporate shadow that's been, literally like stuffed into them. Like they've all been overstuffed with mechanics and, in the case of Unity, in-game currencies and bullshit. And then you have, but then you have Far Cry 4. Which is somehow not only really, really good, but manages to make all of the stereotypical things that you find in Ubisoft games, like it makes them all tie into the main concept and the main story, which isn't like incredibly well written and isn't particularly deep, and it's not really a patch on Far Cry 3's quite thought-provoking, quite meta thing that it had going on there, but like everything comes together in a way that makes sense and doesn't feel forced, and even the tiny smatterings of like unlock this weapon through Uplay, they're few and far between, and actually you'll have earned enough points for them in the first like hour. And I actually had to go looking for microtransactions in Far Cry 4, and I didn't find any in the main game. You have to go to Uplay. That's great. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, that's the way
So
to
they
do it.
can, so they can make good games that don't shove this crap down your throat, and yet the vast majority of their massive games this year have been overstuffed, bloated pieces
Yeah,
of
but
mediocrity.
that's what Carl's saying. It's not they can do it, but they don't want to. What they want to do, they just want to do the stuff. They want to get this money. There's that fantastic video from Tony Key that's been doing the round for a few months.
Man.
One of their marketing man, where he just says, "Look, we want consumers to be spending more than $60, or in our case, sort of 40 to 50 pounds on games. They want all of us to be spending nearer 200."
And that's fine. They will achieve that, but the problem is that the amount of people who are willing to do that will shrink, and it will get to the point where I'm not going to be getting another Ubisoft product now, because I can't trust that they won't do this to every game that they bring out in the future. Like I
Carl,
can't.
you should join me in the crew, and we can go and we can spend on the microtrans, and we can do
Nah,
the things.
I'm really busy.
We can spend
flossing.
microtransactions together.
He's washing
and
his beard.
I'm
dude.
washing
be
my beard.
disconnected and down
He's
for
washing his
maintenance
beard.
together. Never
But-
be disconnected for maintenance alone.
Connected forever to Ubisoft's accounts.
Wait,
Yay.
hang on a minute. You've got an Xbox One, John. Carl's got a PS4. Are you saying that the crew has cross-platform multiplayer?
Is that
No,
that might
I'm
tell it.
saying that they do crippling server maintenance really
Oh.
regularly, and we'll all be offline at the same time.
Yay! So we.
Yay! Misery loves company.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. It's just, oh man. You kind of I want someone to embody Ubisoft so I can go up to them and shake them and be like, what are you doing? You have good IPs and good ideas here that you're...
Yeah, like, come on, Valiant Hearts, guys. Child of Light, guys. Rayman Origins, we love that stuff.
That's
Do you know
the
what?
thing,
I think they just. Do you know what? They put so much hard work and like effort and money into making Zombie U like the best survival horror game pretty much in years, like because it is, and nobody bought it, and I think they just snapped. I think they just cracked. Like 3 people bought that game basically. There's still like piles of boxes lying around in Ubisoft headquarters. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse in there, and they just thought right. They don't want this. They don't want these. Right. We'll get them. We'll get them for this. And they've been just trying to get their own back ever since.
I almost asked the question, like, is it okay to have these soulless AAA experiences now that, well, when Ubisoft are doing quite awesome kind of lower level stuff like Child of Light, like Valiant Hearts, things like that, does that make it okay? And then the answer's just no.
No, the answer's no, because if you keep doing this, the pre-order market will implode, and AAA publishers will fall like fucking dominoes.
Although that's kind of, I'd sort of like to see the pre-order.
Yeah, but but that would then take pretty much the entire games market with it. The only people who'd survive are the indies and probably Nintendo of all people.
I can live in a world like that.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
I think you said this in your paragraphs for biggest disappointment of 2014. Like say, like the way things are going, we're headed for an almighty crash, and that might not be the worst.
Yeah, the thing is, if the pre-order market goes down, like so many AAA publishers are totally invested in that model that we'd lose a few of them, and pretty much the rest of them would have to contract or shrink, and because there will be a point where consumers say, hang on, these games are broken at launch and they're full of microtransactions. Why the hell should I pay full price for launch? Why shouldn't I wait 2 weeks and buy them in a sale? And when everyone suddenly starts doing that, and there will come a point when they do, then yeah, it's gonna be Mario or Indie.
I'm actually all right. I'm kind of all right.
But it would take all the awesome stuff. You wouldn't get You wouldn't get any Mordor. You wouldn't get any pretty much most of the stuff that Deep Silver does. You wouldn't get that. You'd take a whole bunch of games with it and a whole bunch of websites too. But you never know. Could be good.
Could be interesting. It could be interesting. It'd be anarchy.
But it's a future that can be avoided if publishers like Ubisoft just stop slinging broken games and make sure that every sort of design decision they make is based on the player having fun, and then people will just, keep ordering your stuff because you deserved it and you make good stuff that's worth pre-ordering.
Pretty much.
Pretty basic, but it's in your hands. We're like the ghost of Christmas yet to come right here. Because we're showing you, Ubisoft, we're showing you, like, you're peeking through the house. And, like, Tiny Tim, like, he's not there. He's spent all of his money on the crew fun bucks, and he doesn't have enough to cure his, like, consumption or whatever it is he's got. You kill Tiny Tim, Ubisoft, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can change your ways, Ubisoft.
You
so
dirty
dark.
murderers, you absolute monsters.
It's so dark.
So bad.
Oh god. I think
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry fucking Christmas. I think as well, like I think because we've seen very different tactics. Like CD Projekt, for example, we love CD Projekt because, you know, they treat their consumers like human beings and with respect, and therefore, so they've taken a look at the market, and basically one of their board members was saying people are afraid to, or rather that the market's not safe for people broken games right now, and taken the decision to make certain that The Witcher 3 is up to scratch. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a little bit disappointed that I'm not going to be able to play The Witcher 3 in February, but I'd much rather. I'm glad they made that decision if they feel it's necessary. I'm glad they communicated it, and there's been no kind of fallout. That game is still going to sell a bomb because it's The Witcher.
And more to the point, you were telling me earlier that you're actually really looking forward to getting properly stuck into the Order 1886. You were telling me, like, oh man, all these great games are coming out in February, but the one game that I might not have as much time as I want to really get involved with the Order, because I'm super excited about it. I love the look of how filmic it is, because you love filmic games. You do. You love films as well.
You actually said those things about the crew. I didn't say that at all about the Order. Talk about the Order. God damn. God. Fucking.
So there you go. You'll have like no excuse to really
I will say one thing.
Get stuck into that.
Just because by the time this preview goes live, by the time this podcast goes live, my preview will be on site. Just if you want to go back in time 8 years, then the Order is probably for you. Or if you like really love graphics but hate gameplay, then the Order might be for you.
Yeah, it's like, to me, when I played it, it's like if you found Gears of War to just like really sort of give you too much choice. If you really like play that game and you were like, whoa, man, there's too much. I don't know what to do. There's too many options. Oh my god, do I run over there? Do I go left or do I the other, just around a little bit round? Yeah. So you've still got that destroyed beauty kind of thing going on and gritty visuals, but you don't have to play it. You can just sit back and watch it.
Yeah.
Basically, if you can't afford a lobotomy but want to understand how it feels, get the Order. I think is what I'm taking.
That is actually no. That's the back of the box quote
from Neil's phone right there.
You can even watching even a single cutscene in the crew will do that as well.
Instant virtual lobotomy.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and it's like you're in good company because that every character has already undergone that procedure. And I'm sorry for even bringing up the crew because we've just been bitching about Ubisoft instead of talking about the hottest news of the week. So I apologise for even bringing that up. But maybe we can get things back on track after I horribly derailed it. What else have we got on the docket?
Oh, I just want to say one last thing about the Order.
No, tough.
It will make you want to go to Shoreditch and order a bowl of cereal for £3, because like they've got some serious hipster mustaches in there. Like everyone.
Wait! They're not hipster mustaches, are they? They're like old school English. Like,
not everyone in Victorian times had a mustache.
Pretty sure they did. Have you not seen Sherlock Holmes?
But this is hipster history, so it's okay, and it's steampunk as well. So steampunk mustaches.
Yeah, exactly. Steampunk hipster mustache. Does that make it okay? Because I think in this one specific instance, I think it does.
Maybe.
I feel like it does.
Maybe. It does look very nice, but then like if I want something that looks nice, I'll just kind of Google Horizon or something. Like, just Google a picture of a forest.
Or just go on like Google Street View and just go through the streets of London.
Google Space.
Nice.
Yeah, or just play Elite. Actually,
Yeah, man.
it's very pretty. Anyway, right. But there's been a little bit of news this week, but I think like the big one I quite like to talk about because it's happy news, right? It's happy news. So Sony threw themselves a party, but you know what? Nintendo and Microsoft are probably throwing some internal parties right now because they had a cracking Black Friday weekend, winning big with like record sales, the record sales month for both the Wii U and the Xbox One.
Yeah, they really brought home the bacon. I mean, for the first time, Xbox One has outsold the PS4 and the Wii U in the US and the UK. That's a big deal. I mean, they're always going to, though. We were saying it in the Black Friday podcast. They were trying to give that thing away, and they succeeded. So, you know, who knew? Like, low prices and great games. People might want to buy that.
Yeah, bring the slightly weaker console like under the price of the PS4, and it flew off shelves. And get the bundles right, and they really did. There were some cracking value bundles. There were some really excellent bundles still going around.
Yeah, they're still really crushing it. And Nintendo, of course, well, they enjoyed I think they enjoyed their strongest month of trading ever in this November. And I think the reason for that has less to do with bundles and more to do with Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine because let's face it, Smash Brothers. This was the year in which Nintendo finally released their system sellers for me. This was the year where they finally brought out Mario Kart 8 and Bayonetta 2 and Smash Brothers, the games that we've all been waiting for, and yeah, people have bought it, obviously.
Thing is, though, like being Nintendo, they couldn't make it like super easy. Like there wasn't a dedicated Smash bundle. I don't think.
Or like a Super Smash Amiibo bundle,
like
with
that,
like loads of Amiibo characters and stuff in it.
That would have been. You would have thought that would have been a no-brainer. But
no, this is Nintendo. All they thought they'd do is let's what would be fun is let's make 5 GameCube adapters for the entire world. And like 10 of each amiibo, and then let's let everybody fight. Like, we don't need to do anything because according to Deal's Tone, that massive AAA crash is coming anyway, and we're going to be the only ones surviving it. Why worry? But yeah, it's about time they finally released those games, and it is, I gotta say, it's the must-have console this year. The Xbox One has done very well, but the Wii U has the best games of this gen, apart from on 3DS.
The thing is, I don't understand the words Nintendo and stock shortage being in the same sentence, because the Wii U up to this point has sold, well, it's sold badly. Like, how can they not have prepared for their flagship game, like, and stuff for their flagship game of this winter, arguably the biggest release on Wii U since that console's launch? Like, how could they not have been prepared for this?
This is Nintendo we're talking about. This is the company who brings out a new model of a 3DS but doesn't release it before Christmas. This is the same company who brought Super Mario 3D World out on the same day the PS4 released.
Oh.
You know, this is the same Nintendo who released a new console with the flagship game being it wasn't even Pikmin. What was the flagship launch game on the Wii U?
Land.
Nintendo Land, and a hardcore survival horror game. Yeah, that will fly off the shelves. We got fun local multiplayer and horrific, harrowing terror.
You couldn't make this shit up. You couldn't make this stuff up.
How could Nintendo possibly have done this? Because they're Nintendo. Because they're Nintendo, and they just do stuff like this. Carl, are you gonna buy a Wii U?
Nah.
Cool.
It's not necessarily because it's Sega, but because I am actually broke. So that's one way to ensure that I don't buy any other games this year. Yay!
Yay!
It's always that Steam backlog you've got from like the last 7 years.
Yeah, that's just keeping me going, keeping things fresh.
It's actually true. I've got at least 50 games that I own and have never played. And probably, if I stay in this industry, never will, because of time.
Goddamn time.
But yes, the sales are here. It's awesome. It's a good time to be investing and buying, and it's a good time to be a gamer.
Absolutely.
Wonderful stuff. Cool. So that's been this week's Game Buzz. Thank you so much for checking in, for listening. If you listen to this on YouTube, do hit subscribe because we can now upload videos of longer than 15 minutes once again. Thanks, Capcom. But yeah, we'll be back. Thanks. We'll be back next week with another podcast. In the meantime, do check out our Game of the Year stuff. Our personal picks have gone live. The awards themselves will be going live over the next few days. So yeah, definitely check in with that. And if you haven't already, remember to vote in our Retailer of the Year and Game of the Year polls as well. But yeah, have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
God bless us, everyone, said Tiny Tim.
Or at least he did, yeah.
Before he died at the hands of Ubisoft.